Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor. Today I wanted to talk to you about how Vincent Wilson or anyone else may never sell their XRP or may not in the short to mid run. And I'm going to go over today a lot of the reasons why not. But for those of you, I wanted to say up front, for those of you that have never heard about Vincent Wilson, I can't remember if I've ever spoken about Vincent Wilson, but just to let you know what this is, Vincent Wilson is at some point, a lot of the Ripple and XRP YouTubers started getting this guy that with the screen name Vincent Wilson, and he would put, he kept writing in the comment sections of all of the YouTubers that someday 20,000 XRP could be life-changing, and he said the same thing every time, and after a while it just became a whole thing and everybody started talking about Vincent Wilson. DM Logic even did a song that was actually good, I thought, about Vincent Wilson, so look that up if you haven't seen his video. DM Logic did a video on it, and it's really good. But anyway, I wanted today, this is something that I'm guilty of and many of us are guilty of, and that is we talk about exit strategies. And maybe in a way, when I've talked about exit strategies, I've been thinking short term. Maybe in a way it's short-sighted to look at this in that type of way. Maybe when I'm thinking about that, I'm thinking about some of the shorter term things that could change my life or could change your life when we're talking about exit strategies and selling. But today I'm going to talk more about the big picture, and then at the end I will go over, because I have people ask me all the time about what's my exit strategy, what would I do, and I'll go over a little bit of that. I've gone over it before, but it keeps being asked, and so I'm going to go over a little bit of that again. For those of you that are not interested in the bigger picture and are just planning on cashing out in the next few years, but I do want to make sure that you understand the bigger picture and what I'm going to talk about today. This came to me, I saw this tweet by C3 Nick, and y'all hear me talk about C3 Nick all the time. There's a lot of guys out here on the internet who are deeper thinkers than I am, but I'm pretty good at painting a picture and making people understand the bigger picture of things. But a lot of times, guys like C3 Nick, who are really smart thinkers, they will put something out there, and that's how my mind goes to work at putting something together that I think could really be interesting and be eye-opening for my audience. And so C3 Nick yesterday, he put this out, and he says, if XRP reaches a price of X by the end of the year, and you know that dozens of banks will use XRapid by the end of 2019, you will have quite a decision if you sell, and if you do, how much and when to sell. It is important to have a plan beforehand. Now, what he's saying here, what I see in this statement is two things. The first thing that I see is having a laid out plan to sell. I've kind of told you that before. But what I see in what he's saying that's a bigger thing that I think that you need to think about is, if you are a true believer in what XRP is doing and you listen to what they've told you, this isn't like maybe, this is what people like Brad Garlinghouse have said, and I'm going to show you that too. And you really understand what, not only what XRapid is and that the banks are going to use it, but you understand that there's going to be other use cases down the road. Then this is something that you really have to think about, because XRP this year may go up on speculation alone to a place that you may want to take a lot out at that point. But you still have to think in your mind, if you really do believe what has been told to us, this is not theory or maybe, this is going to happen. And I'm about to show you another one of C3 Nick's things that'll show you what I'm talking about. Before I go to the video where it's actually Brad Garlinghouse telling you what's going to happen, I want to just tell you kind of how I think about this is really kind of about any utility digital assets, but more than any, of course, XRP, because XRP is the greatest digital asset ever created, and it's by far the greatest utility digital asset ever created. But I want to explain to you the way I think this all unfolds as far as use case, XRapid being the big kahuna use case for XRP. I look at use cases kind of like a bathtub that has no water in it. And I look at as banks and then later other use cases such as coil and all of these things become a bigger part of our world. And as these use cases increase, let's say like yesterday, I saw there was a piece of fake news we were all talking about on Twitter where it said Bank Santander was going to use XRP. Well, the writer of that article had misled people, and I don't know if it was intentional, but they had written that article in such a way that Santander had already made a decision to use XRP. Well, they had not, but that doesn't mean that they won't. I think many banks will. But my point in telling you this is that I believe that as banks come on and payment companies come on using XRapid over the course of the next year or 2 years, you're going to see that bathtub slowly filling up with water. And as that water rises, it's going to create new floors in the price of XRP. And the speculation as time goes and more use cases come on and more banks come on XRapid and payment companies, and that floor rises and rises and rises, the speculation money is going to bounce off of that floor and things will rise higher and higher and higher. That's the best illustration of the way that I see XRP, and not just the Ripple's use cases that they're going after, but the future use cases. That's the way I see this unfolding. I wanted you to understand that before I go to what C3 Nick has on his, and he has a YouTube channel. So those of you that have not subscribed to his YouTube channel, he just announced that he's going to have a YouTube, and you need to go subscribe to this because he doesn't put anything out that's not well thought out. But this is Brad Garlinghouse when he's referring to, and I'm not going to play the video. I never play videos because I don't want YouTube to hit me for copyright. But this was from June 4th when Brad Garlinghouse addressed whether banks were going to use XRapid. I'm going to tell you what he said in here. Now, I took his words almost exact here. I think it's pretty close to exact. For 2018, he said that by the end of this year, he has every confidence that major banks would use XRapid as a liquidity tool. Okay. Then for 2019, now I believe in that he's not referring to all major banks. I think he's saying that some, one or two or three major banks would use XRapid as a liquidity tool. But then he talks about 2019, and he says by the end of the year, the following year in 2019, he certainly hopes that dozens of banks will use XRP. Now, those are pretty strong statements, even though he's covering himself. He's not saying anything. He's got all kinds of non-disclosure agreements and everything. I'm sure he's not going to say anything that would be irresponsible. But this is the CEO of Ripple talking here. This is and we're not talking about. I mean, we're already. I don't know if it's in use yet, but he's already announced they're going live with 3 companies from Swell. Okay, so moving along, and I wanted you to understand that and the things I just mentioned, because now I'm moving along. This whole conversation is about why you may never sell your Ripple, or your XRP, sorry. Next thing I wanted to show you. Now, I've told you over and over and over and over and over, I have said, the investment products and the things that you are going to see having to do with the new asset class of digital assets, we can't even imagine yet. Yesterday, one of the new ones came out. It was just a matter of time. Uphold announced yesterday access to better yields and flexible credit on digital assets. Uphold, to my knowledge, just became the first company to announce that you will now be able to, on your digital assets that are held at Uphold, you will be able to earn interest on those assets. That changes everything. Okay. Now, in the beginning, what they're saying is Uphold Earn allows you to access a yield of 2 to 5% on your digital assets. They also came out with Uphold Borrow, which gives you a flexible credit at interest rates as low as 9%. They do not have XRP in this yet, but they did announce here. It says over the following months, soon you'll be able to use your Bitcoin or ETH to earn your return and participate in the first non-term crypto line of credit. Over the following months, we'll add more cryptocurrencies, including XRP, to provide a comprehensive yield and credit offering for digital assets. What I want you to get out of this, and what's important here, is the wealthy people of the world, the wealthy people of the history of the world, they're always very, very careful about selling things and incurring taxes on those things. I know many people who to this day own original stock in my little town in Georgia. I know people who have held stock for years and years and years and have not sold it, but they do things like borrow against that stock because they have that asset and they're able to do it. And so the first thing I kind of want to get across to you is that you very well, you're going to be able to earn interest on your XRP holdings soon. Okay. Now this might not be that appealing of an interest rate, but I'm going to show you something in a minute. I think that all this will end up in a place like this. But also they're setting it up so that we can have credit lines on our XRP. I mean, I know people in my town who live off of the credit lines attached to their mega stock holding assets of some of the most famous companies in the world. And this is how a lot of wealthy people do things. But next, I wanted to show you, before I move along, Uphold has come out with their own stable coin, and you need to go and do this. I'm going to put a link to this in the description of this video. You can go and you can sign up. You can get in line to. They're going to be giving away their stable, a lot of their stable coin, $500,000 worth of giveaways in their stable coin on Uphold, and so you can go and do this. And this also gets you in line to become aware of their new app that's going to involve the making interest on your digital assets as well as their credit lines. And so I'll put this in the description of my thing. All right, now that I've talked for many months about all the different investment vehicles that are coming, but I haven't really talked about some of these. But because of this Uphold thing, it's important that you understand a lot of these things are going to rise out of what Uphold just did. These are already things in the works. One of the things Uphold said they're going to do, they're going to have credit line, and of course credit cards come with that. Credit card based on your assets and that type of thing, and your credit, of course. But savings accounts, mortgage loans that are based on looking at your digital asset holdings, home equity loans, who knows, CDs, personal loans. I believe, and I've told you all for months that to get your ledger to store your digital assets, I believe, and Ledger not too long ago came out with Ledger Live, so that when you plug your Ledger Nano S in, you view your holdings through Ledger Live. When I first logged on to Ledger Live, they had some brokers listed. They have a section on here where it's brokers, and so I knew when I saw that I think they're headed in the direction of you being able to buy and sell out of your crypto through this app. Well, the next logical step is going to be for them to allow you to have maybe a money market fund or an interest-bearing fund on your digital assets within your Ledger Nano S, within the Ledger Live app that you use for Ledger Nano S. I mean, the world is literally changing right before our eyes. So Vincent Wilson could be logged into the Ledger Live and just check his interest that he's made. He may get interest in XRP, or he may be able to choose to get it in US dollars or Bitcoin or whatever. But that's where all of this is going, and it's a much bigger picture than people realize. Now, I'm going to hit you with something that I learned as a financial advisor. For those of you that do not know, municipal bonds are the thing that the wealthiest people in the world invest in. The reason they invest in municipal bonds is that municipal bonds, it's for people with millions and millions of dollars. Municipal bonds pay people a tax-free income. So the wealthy, let's say someone with millions of dollars, $100 million, they might spread that $100 million amongst several tax-free municipal bonds, and that bond may pay them, say, 3%. But because these bonds are specifically tax-free, the equivalent of that 3% could be 5% when you figure in that they don't have to pay taxes on that income. I'm here to tell you, I've told you about Liechtenstein for 8 or so months. I'm here to tell you that the wealthy of the world, the people in Liechtenstein, they know, all of these mega wealthy people across this world, they know that there are about to be some mega wealthy people that hold digital assets. And I am telling you right now, I'm making the prediction, they will figure out a way of an investment vehicle where people who own these digital assets can roll them into some type of interest-bearing municipal bond type investment vehicle to pay you tax-free money so that you never have to sell out of your digital assets. That is just my prediction. It's my opinion alone. And that right there, you would never want to sell out of your digital assets if anything like this was available and you could roll into it without having to sell and incur those taxes. I am not an accountant, just like I'm not an investment advisor. I'm not saying I am. I'm just telling you a theory of mine about one of the places that all of this is going to go. So let's say in the end you had $20 million of XRP. That's an amazing amount of income. But what I wanted to do, just for Vincent Wilson out there, is I wanted to take what I talked about earlier with that Uphold, just to illustrate, just to give you some numbers. With Vincent Wilson, let's say that I think Uphold said that they would pay 2 to 5% in interest. Now that's taxable interest, but 2 to 5% in interest. Let's say that Vincent Wilson has his 20,000 XRP. He's going to get paid. I just took a number in the middle. Uphold's going to pay him 3% interest, and XRP goes to $5. So his XRP holdings are worth $100,000. He's going to make $3,000 a year in income from Uphold. Let's say that Vincent Wilson has that 20K. It goes to $10 in XRP. He's going to make $6,000 a year. Let's say it goes to $25 XRP. That would put his holdings at $500,000. He would make $18,000 a year. Let's say that XRP went to $100 and Vincent is sitting on $2 million. He would make $72,000 a year. See, at some point, this amount of money that you're making on, and I'm not saying that Uphold's interest-bearing account will be the way to go. I think there will be ways, I think there will be investment vehicles that pay you much more than this. that are created. But I had to do it, so nobody get mad at me. I had to do it just because everybody's been so up in arms about Bearable Guy lately. If Vincent Wilson, if XRP got to $589, Vincent Wilson would have $11,780,000, and he would make approximately at 3% $353,400 a year just for having his money at Uphold. If he was a municipal bond holder, he would make, even if he made that same percent, say $353,400 a year, it's tax free. What could Vincent Wilson not do in his life other than just travel and have fun with that kind of income, never having to sell his XRP? If there was a vehicle such as municipal bonds and XRP municipal bonds, something to think about. Now, for those of you who wanted to know about exit strategies, I'm going to go over this, even though this is really, I hope that this isn't where I end up going. I hope that I'm able to just hold for 5-10 years, if not forever. But if I were exiting in my first stage, right now, this is what I would do. I believe that Coinbase, well, first of all, let's establish Coinbase does not have XRP. Many of you out there hate Coinbase. I realize that. I'm no big fan of Coinbase either. I think have not acted right in this whole space towards XRP. But I believe Coinbase is one of the most liquid markets on the planet right now. And I believe that that's going to come in handy. That, as well as the fact that Coinbase has a better chance of not having log jams than many exchanges across the world. I believe that they might be able to handle the volume of people hitting the exits if there are some sellers that want to cash out their first wave of cashing out when the time comes in this year or next year. And so, if I was cashing out right now, here's how it would go. It would go from my ledger. I would go to Binance, because Binance is probably one of the top most liquid XRP markets, XRP BTC, which is Bitcoin, XRP BTC markets. My XRP would go from my ledger here. I would sell it into Bitcoin. Or you could do it into Ethereum, but Bitcoin market and the XRP Bitcoin market is probably going to be more liquid than the XRP Ethereum. And for that reason, I would probably do it into the Bitcoin market. I would then I use Coinbase Pro. I would send to Coinbase Pro. And then for larger amounts of money, I think they make you wire into your account, but I send money into my bank account through ACH from Coinbase Pro to my bank account. I do that every week. And so I know for a fact it works and works well. Now I'll say to you, and I've said to people before, if you have not gone to Coinbase Pro and applied to get your higher limits, you need to do so. I know for a fact they will approve you for $1 million withdrawal limits daily, if not more. And so they will do it, but you've got to go in there and apply to do it. If you haven't done it, you've got to make sure that you've got your exit routes, and it's not just with Coinbase. On Binance, you've got to make sure that on the front page of Binance, when you first go in, you got to give them certain information. Mine is approved, I believe, to move the equivalent of like 100 Bitcoin. I can't remember if that's a day or a week or a month, but just to be able to move that amount is pretty huge. But anyway, that's the way that works, okay? Well, just this week, Bittrex became the equivalent for me of Binance, in that they now have US dollars. Well, let me take that back. Binance right now, to my knowledge, I don't use Binance for US dollar. Bittrex, let me correct myself. Bittrex just took a step into the front of the line with Binance, really, because Bittrex now Now, and I'm going to give you a caveat here. Bittrex now has US dollar trading pairs, okay? So I can sell on Bittrex, XRP, Bittrex, which is a US exchange, okay? I can now sell XRP into US dollars on Bittrex, and I can send that to my bank account once I have set up. Now that's for me, I'm in Georgia. They've got the list of states here. And the limits on that US dollar putting money from your bank account in and withdrawing money on Bittrex, I've confirmed for you. This was Nicholas Sheets had asked Bittrex the question on Twitter, and it's confirmed. Good question. This is from Bittrex. There's no limit on USD deposits or withdrawals. So what you need to do if you've not done it, I have not done it yet. There's a big form they have in here where you can go in and set it up and apply to link your USD bank account to your Bittrex account. And once that's set up, you have unlimited withdrawals. You will be able to sell out of your XRP that's in Bittrex. I need to do this week, and I have not done it yet. So I think I've covered that. So if I'm exiting, to summarize, now the only part of this that I'm not 100% comfortable with yet, but I think I am, is I haven't checked, and you should check. Go to CoinMarketCap and look at how liquid Bittrex is, the XRP market in Bittrex. Go look how liquid it is versus, say, Binance, because it doesn't do any of us any good. If I've got $500,000 worth of XRP that I'm wanting to sell and get it in US dollars, it's pretty important to me this early in the game how liquid these exchanges are. Would I be able to sell? Is there a buyer that's going to have that much money? I think there is on Bittrex and Binance. I know there is on Binance, and I know Coinbase has that kind of liquidity. But that's where we are in this right now, and so you've got to look at these kind of things. That's why I stick with these bigger exchanges right now, even if I don't like Coinbase. That is not relevant completely right now. And the reason it's not relevant is because Coinbase is so liquid that I cannot ignore them, no matter how against Coinbase that I or you may be. It is a player right now. And it's got to be a player when you're talking about exit strategies, in my opinion, if you're in the United States at least. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor, and I'm not an accountant. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button. I hope you learned something today. I think this is one of the more thorough videos I've done in a while, and I think that it should be pretty eye-opening for many of you. Thanks for listening. I'll be back.